Click the links, join channel here over at Subscribe Star. So Mark Millar claims comic book industry is in the worst state it's ever been. Mark Millar, sweet summer child, in his 50s or 60s, that the naivety to think that comics wants to be saved. Quick video because the premise is just so ridiculous, even if as well-meaning as I'm sure he is. Mark Millar notices the comic industry is FUBAR. Where you been? Which is true. The woke mind virus killed it, and it looks like it's also killing the movie industry, which is freaking absolutely awesome. Some things need to die. But Mark, who I guess is in his, I don't know, 50s or 60s by now, and who apparently has no idea the people he's dealing with, these lizard brain globalists. I mean, that level of naivety. It's like, are you not on social media in any capacity? Do you not? How do you not see what's going on? It's unless he's being a wise ass. That I mean that could be like there's deep trolling, when you say things with such a straight face that people just can't tell what the hell is going on. I've done that to people in person, and they first met me, they thought I was crazy, and then it clicked like later as they became my friends. Anyway, so he says something really obvious, that the people in comics now are parasites with an agenda. I'm paraphrasing him. He didn't use those exact words. And that, you should fire them and replace them with people who know what they're doing. Yeah, no shit. Obviously, you could say that about Hollywood as well. People always talk about Kathleen Kennedy, and it's like they want her. She's there, or anyone else in those positions. They're there because they want them there. They're there in those positions for a reason. If they're still there after these movies have lost so much money, then they're there to stay. They're doing what whoever's pulling the strings that those companies want them to do. Same with, it doesn't matter if it's comics or Hollywood. Actually, there's a ton of similarities. They don't want to fire these woke Bolsheviks. They hired them for the purpose of making propaganda, not comics. They have no interest in making comics. This isn't I don't know, the golden age, not the golden age, but the peak of comics would have been like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Like those were comics. The stuff they're doing now, you look at the stuff they're doing now and compare it to a comic from 50 years ago, 1963, or 60 years ago, 1963, and just put two comics next to each other, and you go, oh, these are just entirely different things. One, you look at comics, the bulk of comics from the 40s to 2000 were comics. What you're seeing now is something else. It's like, remember the old comics would have like those special issues they'd release in schools about, I don't know, fire safety, stop, drop, and roll, kids, and fire extinguishers and smoke alarm batteries and all this kind of whatever. That's what comics are now. It's that level of propaganda. It's we're going to tell you about recycling plastics, or 3M has a very special message about pigmentation. Like, yeah, this is great, Spider-Man. Tell us all about high efficiency particle attractors. You get the idea. That's what modern comics are now, where the propaganda is just so freaking heavy-handed. They don't give a rat's ass about comics. It's just a vector for them to carry the disease of wokeism. They hired them for this purpose. And then, to be fair, a lot of times industries can get away. I mean, it's what gatekeeping is so effing critical. Industries can get away from people a little bit, where you hire one of these rats, and then they're firing people if they get in the position. They're hiring more and more of their fellow rats, and they're firing the people who, the old heads who were actually making products that sold, and they just get in more and more positions of power. And you see like a photograph of a company, and it's like six guys in a room with Mountain Dew cans and computers, and fans blowing everywhere, and it's like these six guys that look like me essentially. And then 10 years, 20 years later, the company has hit big, and you look at the new photo, and it's a 50 to 100 people, and it's like half women, and you get the idea. It's like, so are you guys still as efficient per person as you were back in those days? No, for some reason we got loaded with human resources, middle management type of people. It's like, didn't stay that lean. That's why you got to gatekeep. You got to be that lean, mean fighting machine, and not hire people just to be nice, not hire work girlfriends, that the Heather Antos is of the world. The thing is, they hired all these people for the purpose of the stuff they're doing. They're doing what they want them to do. They don't care if the comics or the movies don't sell. I mean, the comics are definitely not selling. This is a religion to these vermin, and this is like a fundamental misunderstanding that a lot of well-meaning people you project. You're saying you're normal. You're projecting your own motivations on people who have a different motivation. Your motivation is just simply, if you're to sell comics, you just simply sell a fun comic. You enjoy the story, you enjoy the characters, but you also want to sell it and make money and get your story out there. Their motivation is religion. It's a Bolshevism. It's kind of a different type of religion, a secular religion maybe, but it is a religion, and you're not understanding because you don't understand their motivation. I mean, these are people these are the drinking the Kool-Aid people. It's like, it's not quite to that level, but it's the same type of motivation. Eventually, when you look at the facts, and they go, oh, the facts are not in accord with what I had presumed them to be. Well, it's like you have to change your mind about where do the facts lead you? The facts lead me to believing, oh, there's some other motivation other than pecuniary, financial for them. It appears that the motivation is ideological. Yes, that's what the motivation is. It's like, just because it takes a couple steps for you to understand that, oh, their motivations are not yours. Your motivations are just to to sell a product and make money. And like leave the ideology out of it. Like, whatever sells to the market is what you're kind of going for. And you want to, there's some artistic creativity and all that kind of stuff in there. That's not their motivation, including at the $150 billion Disney. Their motivation is not the motivation for Disney that it was in 1980, 1970, 60, whatever. It's a different group of people who control Disney now. It's the same different group of people who control the comics now. It's not the comics you grew up with. Or this is not those people. This is an entirely different group of people. The motivations are radically different. And then once you understand that, you look at it and you're like, okay, it's the Sherlock Holmes thing. It's like you have to go where the evidence leads you. They hired them for this purpose. They're doing exactly what they want them to do. They don't care if the comics or movies don't sell. This is a religion to them. So no, they're not going to fire the Bolsheviks for a few years. Because you said the industry should essentially fire itself for 2 years to hire back the old guys who knew what they're doing. I mean, that's the crazy talk, to have naivety on that level. Sometimes Occam's razor is right. The results they got and continue to get, whether in comics or movies, the consequences of their actions, that's all what they sought to get. This is what they wanted. For them, they're on track. Your cognitive dissonance comes because you don't understand their motives, and that this is a religion. Just because it's not the religion in the form you're familiar with, it's still a religion. And essentially, he's saying the writers, art, editors all suck, which they totally do, and they should be fired and hired base chads who know how to sell comics. Yeah, those people are selling. They're selling their stuff either in Comicsgate or through other independent sources, or they're just trying to keep their heads down and like work for the mainstream and have projects on the side or something. Dude, these are literally communists you're dealing with, and unless you have a helicopter, you're not fixing this. They hired the most woke purse puppy, Mary Sue, Poxwalks, SGWs they could find because of their place on the Frankfurt School hierarchy. When you look at the pictures of all these people, and their little bios, and they talk about their pronouns and their, as a Pox Walks person of whatever, marginalization and oppressed, and as a victim of systemic and marginalization, all this kind of, I don't even know the names of some of these chicks who are writing comics. Like, that's all they talk about is their sexuality and their ethnicity and how they're so marginalized and victims and oppression points. You think those Vita Al or something like that, or do you think those people are hired on merit? Or who's the fat girl who wrote what's the superhero lesbian character? It's like Aya Caramba, Chica Maria. I forget the name of the character. It's a female superhero character. And she's brown and has a Spanish accent, but she's a space alien, and she has like a Spanish accent. And her two moms gave birth to her. I forget. Zach used to talk about that comic all the time. I forget the name of the freaking comic. You look at her and you read her posts and all these other examples, and you look at them, and then you look at the comics, and it's just absolute dog shit. And you go, they didn't hire them on merit. I mean, it doesn't take a big brain to go, they're just hired because they're not white creators. That's it. But are they just because, but there's plenty of good, non-white writers and artists out there for sure. But these aren't them. These are SJWs. The only reason they're hired is because they're brown or they're BLT or they have something that the mainstream industry they look visibly a part of some other community that the SJW, the mainstream industry, can point to and go, oh, hey, look, we have the BLT. They can wave the little, the rainbow flag, the pride flag, whatever the flags, and they're look, they don't have fair skin. We can parade that out before people and go, yeah, but how are the stories? Can they write? No, it turns out, unfortunately, they can't write. Oh, okay, so how's the comic sells? How are the sales? Oh, they don't sell. Okay. Okay. So you didn't hire the person on merit to sell comics. So you're not going to fire them when the comics don't sell because that's not why you hired them. And so how does this company stay in business? I guess it's subs. I guess like DC is owned by Warner Brothers, I think, right? And the Marvel Comics is owned by mostly, some of the rights are owned by Disney. Most of the rights are owned by Disney now, and I think there's a few rights are owned by Sony. Maybe that's just the movie industry, but like Marvel Comics is not Marvel Comics. It's owned by Disney now. And Disney's like I said, $150 billion company, and the comic division is less than $1 billion. So I presume it's subsidized. So when you have a subsidized business, it's like a party run, a Chinese or a Russian run, back in the day of a Pravda type of government run media. It's like it doesn't have to independently make money. I mean, that's kind of the problem. That was the problem with Russian communism. Was like the stuff when they made washing machines or cars or whatever. Like lottos were crap because they didn't have to sell. They had to make them and put them out the door. And it's like they didn't. That was it. That was the only. So you didn't get promoted or you didn't get paid more. You didn't get it. Just that wasn't how it worked, comrade. Because you're subsidized by the government. You just had to produce 30 cars a month in your factory, and that was it. They had to. Most of them had to run, but that was kind of pretty much it. It's like you weren't competing with anyone, and if you're not competing with anyone because you're subsidized, the product doesn't get better. If you can't go out of business because you're subsidized by Disney, it's like you're gonna get what you get. Look at modern Marvel comics, they suck, and this guy's pointing out they suck. It's like yeah, because it's like this isn't the '80s. I don't know when they sold off Marvel, somewhere in the '80s or '90s. Yeah, this is an entirely different motivation that like you're thinking like you're selling your own comics and you have to make money. It's like, hey, I race my little 250 motorcycle on the weekends, and I need to keep that thing in fresh track tires, so I need the money for that. It's like, yeah, that's not what Marvel and Disney's all about. Anyway, but it's sweet to see that you think that this whore can't be saved. She belongs to the street. She doesn't want to be saved. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next episode.